Hello, everyone. As promised, I'm going live today. It's been a little while, so I'm just going to give a little bit of a chance for people to join. Thursday at noon. Welcome. Tell me when you're here. Tell me. I haven't gone live ever on my personal page. I think I've always done it on my business page. Interesting, right? Okay, so give me a minute to share this to the group, and then I'm going to talk about self-sabotage, particularly in relationships. Hey, Itai. Guys, when you join, if you tell me that you're here, where you are in the world, say hi, put something in the comments so that I see you. That would be super. Then I get to see who's joining. I'm going to take 1 second and share this to the group. Share to my group, share to a group. About self-sabotage. Any comments yet? Okay, done. So weird to see myself. Okay, so as you guys are joining, go ahead and write in the comments where you are and what's happening for you. I know this is an impromptu live. I didn't even email my list, but I still wanted to do it. Oh, I also wanted to go live on Instagram, but I don't know how to do that so well, but I'm gonna try it. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna try to put it in a place where I can see both you and where I can see both cameras at the same time. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna do this on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, here I am. I'm here. I'm live on Instagram and Facebook at the same time, and it's weird because I see myself in 2 places, but we're gonna work with it because I wanted to give it a try to do both lives. And still I'm waiting for you guys to tell me that you're joining and put it in the comments. So go ahead and do that when you can so that I see that you're here. Welcome to a talk about self-sabotage. So I am talking today, what inspired me to do this live is that I shared a post 2 days ago, I think it was, about why I've been a little quieter lately. So, you know, if you've been following me, I was very active in May and had the launch of my Creating a Life of Miracles course, and everything was great. And then I got a little quiet in June, one, because I needed to recoup from the big launch that I had done, but also because I was making some big decisions about where I want to live. And I shared a post about this on Facebook a few days ago, and also on Instagram. I've been talking about this decision to move and how I made the decision to move and how just the process, what came up for me, a lot of kind of fear and doubt and some insecurity and trauma from other moves that I've done. And the thing about this move is that for me, it's something that when I knew it was the right thing to do, I really knew it was the right thing to do. Like, I had clarity in my heart that I wanted to move to be closer to my boyfriend, who lives an hour and 15 minutes away. And that really felt right to me at the time that I made the decision. And what I shared in my Facebook post a few days ago and on Instagram as well is that as soon as I made that decision, all this shit started coming up for me. I started to feel, I guess the word is vulnerable. Like, I started to feel really vulnerable. I started to really doubt myself. I started to wonder if I was making the right decision. And I started to have a lot of feelings like I couldn't breathe, trauma? Am I doing the right thing? Oh my God, it's going to be a disaster. All of this doubt. And what I shared in the post is that what also started happening is that I started creating conflict with my boyfriend. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Comment if it has. Comment if you are a person who sometimes self-sabotages yourself or goes so far into the doubt, you know? And I know that this post resonated with people because there was like so many comments on the post where I wrote about how I was sabotaging myself in a way. You know, I was starting to pick fights with my boyfriend. I was starting to find things that were wrong with the relationship, all because I was having this tremendous fear that I was making a mistake by moving, you know, taking the next level. So going to the next level essentially in my relationship. And I was also at the same time kind of going to a new level in my business. I made a decision to hire a team, which is a big commitment, obviously. So I was making two really big decisions at the same time, which in my heart, when I meditated and I spoke to my higher self, like really felt like the right next things for me to do. But my fight or flight, more, you know, mechanical thinking mind was like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. So I'm going to take a comment. Amber says, been there and done that. Caught myself the last time and ended up marrying the man of my dreams. Oh, Amber, that's so lovely. Can you say more about that? Like, I would love to hear about how you caught yourself and what self-sabotage looked like for you. I think it's really good if we start getting honest and sharing about how we sabotage ourselves, because sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it, you know? And I think one of the gifts this time for me was that I've been able to see when I was able to catch myself in this process of self-sabotaging, and I was able to identify the fear. But like you said, Amber, I've been there and done that in other times, other phases of my life where I sabotage myself when I was maybe getting too close to something that I really wanted, and on some level either didn't trust that I was ready or didn't feel deserving of it. And I did blow it up and I did sabotage. And I did make a decision that wasn't based on my heart, but I've made decisions that have been based on fear. And this time I was really able to do it differently. So I would love to hear from you and from anyone who's watching in the comments, how do you identify when you're self-sabotaging? So for me, what happened was I was picking all these fights and I was basically getting really, getting afraid about money as well. So I was like kind of spilling over into every area of my life because I'm up-leveling in my business. I'm making a new commitment, hiring a team. So I'm starting to get worried about that financially. Then I'm up-leveling in my relationship, making a choice to live with someone. So I'm starting to get nervous, not live with someone, but live closer to someone. We're not moving in together, but I'm moving to the neighborhood. So I started to doubt basically every decision I was making. And how did that present? Instead of being able to sit with the fear, what I started to do was externalize by fighting, basically fighting with myself, but also fighting with the person who I really loved and creating more conflict and more drama. And so what I wanted to talk about here, since I'm in this process and can talk about it right now, is how do we see when we're doing it and how do we stop ourselves and switch? So Amber says, I knew he and I were meant to be together. This is about the man of her dreams who she just married. Congrats, Amber. He and I worked together, but never hung out. He invited me to his housewarming party and I tried to get out of going because of the feelings I felt. Really real. His response was, fine, don't come. So that one comment made me snap out of it. It made me realize I was putting walls up again. So I had a choice. Ooh, this is very good, real story, Amber. Thank you for sharing. So you had a choice. So, okay, so you saw that you were putting walls up again. So when we're in a place of self-sabotage, so first what it is. Self-sabotage is when we're about to do something that in our heart we know we want, that's going to take us to another level of love, of intimacy, of success. Something really good is about to happen, right? What is self-sabotage? So we're on the verge. Amber was on the verge of going to a party with this man who she knew was meant to be her husband. I'm on the verge of moving to be closer to my boyfriend and also taking a new level, making a new level of commitment in my business. These are all things that I've wanted. They're things I've prayed for. They're miracles that I've asked for. I'm on the verge of this success. And what am I doing? I'm about to shut it all down. So I'm about to pull out of this decision in my business. I'm about to cancel my move. I'm about to self-sabotage. Has anyone ever done that before? Amber was saying she had a choice. Has anyone else ever done that where you self-sabotage? You're on the verge of success. You're about to get the things that you've wanted and worked for and prayed for. And all of a sudden your mind gives you a reason why you shouldn't do it. So in my case, my mind was telling me you shouldn't move. Don't move. This move is going to be a disaster. This relationship isn't going to work out, or you're not going to be happy up there. I wasn't necessarily saying the relationship wouldn't work out, but I was like, this isn't going to work. I can't move. It's going to be too destabilizing. I started telling myself all these lies. I can't afford it. It's going to hurt my business. It's not a good time. It's not a good time for my boyfriend. It's not a good time for me. I just started making up excuses out of fear. So that's what self-sabotage is. I'm on the verge of canceling things that are going to make me successful because I'm in fear. And if you have ever experienced that, then go ahead and share about it, because I think it's good for us to acknowledge when we're self-sabotaging. Okay, great question. So here's a good question from Jonathan. Wouldn't most people not even realizing they're self-sabotaging? Yes. So I'm going to talk about that. So now we know, that's a great question, Jonathan. And that was the next point I wanted to make. So what it is, we know it's when we're on the verge of success and we start doing things or coming up with excuses to not be successful, to not go forward with the thing that's going to make us successful. So in order to stop it, like Jonathan said, most people wouldn't even realize that they're self-sabotaging. We first have to recognize when it is we're in that process. So for me, what it looks like now, because I've been doing this spiritual work for a long time, and by spiritual work, I mean, in this process of making miracles, I teach certain things. One is meditation, and the other is prayer. So through prayer and meditation, I'm able to get quiet and to go back to my source of what it is I say I want. And luckily I also journal. And so these are 3 tools that I suggest everyone start making part of your practice. Keep a journal of what you want, and keep a journal of ways that what you want are coming to you. And then keep praying and meditating on the things that you want. So here I am, I have a whole journal and I have months and weeks of prayer for these things: a successful business, a loving relationship, a house that feels, an apartment that feels right. And if you saw my post about the apartment, I found this perfect apartment. So I'm on the verge of success, and then I start fighting. I start fighting and creating chaos and creating drama. So when I go to my meditation cushion, there's like a very small voice inside of me, very, very tiny, that starts to whisper to me, like, what are you doing? Asking me, like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna ruin your relationship and you're gonna stop yourself in your business. Like that's, there's 2 options, right? I can make the move, I can move forward in the relationship, or I could not make the move and stay in the relationship. That's fine too. But if I keep fighting, I will eventually end the relationship. That's what happens when you create discord. People don't want to be in that. And if I cancel the team that I'm about to hire, then I know what it looks like. I know it's just me, and I know that that's hard to do. So I know what it looks like if I continue along the path of sabotage. So there's a small voice inside of me that says, is this what you really want? You can be alone and you can stop your business, but is that what you want? And the answer from my heart, which came up in prayer and meditation, is no, I don't want to do that. I don't want sabotage. So to your point, Jonathan, wouldn't most people not even realize they're self-sabotaging? I think that's true, which is why we need this process. And that's why I teach people this process of prayer, meditation, journaling, and many other things in the miracle making process. But those are part of the backbone, because it's in those times of praying, meditating, and going back to my journal that I'm able to say, okay, I can blow it up, or I can have the things that I want, right? I can move towards love, move towards light, move towards success. So does that answer your question? Do you think that if you don't have a meditation practice, I really think it's imperative. If you don't want to blow up your life, I really think it's imperative to have a meditation practice, because it helps us to slow down. And if we are afraid of success or we are afraid of love, we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to see it more when we make time for prayer and meditation. And then the other piece of that, so that's kind of like the how to stop it piece. So I pray, I meditate, I see what I'm doing. And then for me, what's really important is to reach out to other people. So I suggest that if you find yourself in a situation where you are creating chaos, or you even if you have like a shadow of a doubt in your mind, something in your mind that says, I think you might be sabotaging, I would say that that is reason enough to call a friend, call a mentor, call someone who you trust, and tell them what's going on and tell them what you're doing so that they can mirror back to you what they hear. This is why I say it's always really important to have a coach or to have a mentor, to have friends who you can be really honest with so that they can say to you, yeah, it sounds like you're self-sabotaging, or, you know, I hear that this is scary, but it sounds like it's something that you really want. So what can you do to be sure that you keep staying consistent with what you really want? And then you get like a little pause. It's like there's a little, in the process of us creating drama and chaos, we get these moments where we have a little bit of like a glimmer of being able to reset. And it's like, we've all had it, right? When you are in the process of blowing something up or creating drama, and there's a small voice that's like, you can stop this right now. Like, you don't have to do this. You can stop this right now. And we have that choice to either blow on, you know, keep going, plowing through with our plans, or to pause and to stop and to ask ourselves, do I really want to create this drama or this chaos? So when you call a friend or a mentor, you make it even more possible for you to hear from someone else about the ways you might be self-sabotaging. So that's the piece of how do we stop it. And if you've self-sabotaged before, you might start recognizing your patterns of when you're on the verge of something really successful or something you really want, and you stop yourself. And then the other thing is to understand why it is you're doing it. So we talked about what is self-sabotage. We talked about how to stop it. And the way to stop it are these three things, right? Prayer, meditation, and calling another person, essentially. So if you're in the midst of creating chaos, I want you to pause and do these three things before you blow up your life, before you end that relationship, or before you make a business decision that might set you off course, or whatever it is that you're sabotaging. Stop and pray, meditate, and call someone else to get feedback, because without those three things, a lot of us will just plow through. And then the last piece of this is, okay, to start understanding why it is you self-sabotage. What's the core feeling? Usually it's some sort of fear, or some fear of success, or also, for me, a lot of times it's a feeling of like unworthiness. Like, can I really do this? Do I really deserve this? Am I going to be able to handle this? You know, there's like a lot of fear related to those. So I think through the journaling piece, and also working with a mentor, or being in some sort of group coaching process, or some sort of self-reflective process, you can start to understand yourself. Every great spiritual discipline, every religion, every great philosopher says most important is that we know ourselves. And ourselves, we have to ask ourselves the question, who am I? We have to ask that all the time. And so be in a process where you start to know yourself so that you understand why you self-sabotage. Does that make sense, guys? So Jonathan, I want to know if I answered your question. Megan joined. Hey, Megan, I'm so happy you're here. Welcome, Megan. And a few other people joined on Instagram. Hey, guys. So I want to take your questions as I talk about why we self-sabotage. So there's a few reasons for me. You might have your own. One is fear. One is issues of self-worth. You know, do I really deserve? Can I really make this work? Is this too much for me? Do I deserve this? And getting to the core of what's going on. And that's what I shared about in my post, that I started to realize that there's part of me that was really afraid of success, part of me that's really afraid of being in a loving relationship. And we are naturally afraid of intimacy. like no one really knows how to do intimacy well, especially in relationships. It's something that has to be taught and learned. And unfortunately, we don't like have very many opportunities to learn it, right? Intimacy isn't taught in school. And I'm not talking about sexual intimacy, although people oftentimes, you know, we use that as a placeholder for real intimacy, but real intimacy of like being honest and vulnerable with another human being is probably the scariest thing we're ever going to have to do in our life. Like being in a relationship, I always liken to like being on the edge of a cliff all the time, and you're always afraid you're going to fall. And at the same time, the benefits of being up there are so miraculous. They're so awe-inspiring. It's like you're in this beautiful place of awe and love and appreciation, but you're also in this place of like constant terror. Like the relationship could fall apart. The other person might see you and might reject you. We don't know what's going to happen. So intimacy isn't something we're naturally good at. And it's a place where I think people self-sabotage a lot because it is so terrifying and because we don't really have tools. We don't have a whole lot of tools for being in an intimate, real, honest, vulnerable relationship. And so it's very common that people will self-sabotage the relationship, usually by blaming the other person. You know, so your partner does one thing wrong and you're like, oh, you're not for me, you know? And that's very easy to do. You do that enough times, you discard enough people, you end enough relationships, you start to see my option is to be alone, or my option is to work through this thing so that I can accept the other person and be in a relationship. And so a lot of times the question is, what do I want? Do I want to be alone, or do I want to be in a relationship? And if I do want to be in a relationship, how do I stay consistent with that? How do I not self-sabotage my relationship? How do I not self-sabotage my success because I'm too scared or because I don't feel worthy of it? Does that make sense, guys? I want to take questions, or I want to hear your stories of self-sabotage, or how you stop yourself when you're doing it. Or maybe you have tried to stop yourself, but you're unsuccessful in it. And I want you to go away. Like, I really want you to go away from this live. Why did I do this? Because my post got so much positive response when I shared honestly about what I was going through, that I thought, wow, there must be other people who struggle with this, who struggle not to leave relationships, or struggle not to fight, or struggle not to sabotage their success, because it's obviously hitting a nerve if people are feeling so connected. And I think we all struggle on some level with feeling worthy of the gifts and the miracles that we want. And if we do struggle with feeling worthy, we're all the more likely to self-sabotage. So there's that kind of cycle, you know, not feeling worthy, but we still do the work. Our life starts getting better and better and better. And then it's so good that we're like, oh no, this can't be. And we start to self-sabotage by fighting, creating chaos, drama, all these things, so that we can distract ourselves from the real work of being honest, open, vulnerable, intimate. And then we create this big distraction that takes us off course, and then we don't have to come here to the point of success, right? So that's kind of like the vicious cycle of self-sabotage. So Jonathan says, yes, you answered the question. Do you have any other questions? I would love to take your questions, Jonathan, or Megan, or whoever's here on the live, or on Instagram, guys. I can see your comments. I think the first step always is awareness. Like, yes, like Jonathan said, I am aware that I'm self-sabotaging. The next piece is, what kind of tools can I create in my life so that I stop this? And that's where prayer, meditation, journaling, mentorship, I'd say those are the 4 primary tools: prayer, meditation, journaling, and mentorship. Those are the 4 primary tools for any kind of good life. But especially if you're prone to self-sabotage. Hi, Rocco Styles. I love that you're here. Primarily, if you're prone to self-sabotage or not really believing in your worthiness, then, or you're afraid of success, which I think a lot of us are, then that's what you want to use. You want to use those 4 tools. And then the last phase is, when you aren't in that place of fear, you want to go deeper into why. Why did I do this? And heal that core issue, the kind of core, some people call it like a core wound or a core issue, like what's underlying my fear of success? Why do I have it? What are my beliefs about success? Or what's underlying my fear of a relationship? Do I not trust myself in a relationship? Do I not trust my partner? Am I afraid of being seen? Am I afraid of being abandoned? And it could be any one or multiple of these, but there are these core issues that we all have, and it's really up to us to identify them and to heal them so that we can be successful and live in light and live in love. If we don't heal what is really happening underneath, and it's not like we have to be perfectly healed. It's never going to be perfect, but we have to make an effort to do the work to heal it on some level so that we can stay in uncomfortable situations, right? Like all the best things in life are somewhat uncomfortable. Relationships, not easy, uncomfortable. Success in business, not easy, comes with a lot of responsibility, not always comfortable. So if we want to be able to live in a place of discomfort, we need self-awareness and we need tools. And that applies in all situations, and it particularly applies to self-sabotage. So I hope that this has been helpful for you in understanding a few things. One, what self-sabotage is, how to stop it when we're doing it, and then why we do it, and some tools that you can use to stop yourself from self-sabotaging. So if you have any other questions, I would love to take them now. Please put them in the comments. If self-sabotage is something you do, if it's something you struggle with, if it's something you want to ask me more about offline, I'm happy to talk. I think living in the light and living in love is really much harder than we think it is. And so a lot of us think, oh, I want a relationship, or oh, I want to live in light, or oh, I want money. And then as soon as the opportunity for those things present themselves, we do things to push it away. And I want you to have a miraculous life. That's my primary goal. I want to bring people to love and to light because I've done so much work on myself to bring myself to love and light. I want to bring you to love and light. And the way to do that is by being honest and vulnerable and talking about these things and giving other people the opportunity to identify with some of their own struggles so that they can be like, oh, I do that too. And when we do that, we start to see that we're not so alone, we're not so different or unique. Other people struggle with these things, and we can do things to stop it. We don't have to be ruled or overcome by our demons of fear or by our feelings of unworthiness. So that's what I've got to say. I would love to hear more from you. Comment as you see, comment, ask questions. Send me a message. I would love to hear all of what you have to say on the topic of self-sabotage and how you have handled it or how you manage it. And I will be going live again soon, and I will keep you posted on how all of these things go, which is my move and this really exciting time of hiring a team in my business. So I love you guys. I'm really grateful you tuned in today. I'm really happy you were here, and I would love to hear more from you about this topic whenever you can. All right, everyone, I love you. It was wonderful to be here on Thursday. I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.